Good evening, Norlin and Diane. Today we are going to continue our course in the financial technology or the fintech. And now we are talk about the introductions about the financial technology in a global decisions for the global decisions. As we know that the fintech or financial technology is the most promising industries in the world. So from these informations, we know about the thinking that the financial technology is a driven or they have a financial technology revolutions. The revolution is talking about the driven like the waving of the startup and some innovative of new business and in the revenue models. Also, they are introducing about the new products and services, and also with the changing of the finance for the better in globally. So the fintech firms is having a range area about the financial service, but almost exclusively for the business bank. That is the goals of the fintech firms along the nations across the world. Okay, and for the banking of industry is needs to reap for the change about the fintech startup is still rising, like the growing of popularity since the blockchain technology having the dominance in our millennials. And also this industry is evolving and ever increasing to preparing about the cyber security threats, especially for the banks to continue about the evaluating about the new threats and potential of fraud audits. So there is our thinking about the fintech revolutions or about the financial technology revolutions between the startup and the product services, and also about the changing in finance evolutions. So next we will talk about the journey of the fintechs. The journey of fintechs is starting about the shifting of financial landscape. The financial landscape is leading about the world major of retailer bank that have a domination in the financial service landscape, like the deposit, payment, and about the credit facilities that they are used and take for granted. But today, the online shop is maybe having the debit card transactions. Most of the debit card transactions is equal like using the PayPal. So this business will be have real for the bank and credit card, and that can make some transactions using peer-to-peer platform, especially for the lender. So this is an alternative of finance between banks to gain for attraction with the customer. The fintech is approaching about this moment. So the critical mass on of consumer and the business customer can see about the technology driven have a solutions to the new player in our marketplace, especially for the customer and with the business customer. Yeah. So the implication is a traditional banking are immense. Yeah. They need to develop about the fintechs and getting some potential era to make us new brand equity and the incumbent players to getting our market share. This is the first reflection about the shifting of financial landscapes. And the next revolutions or next journey is about the unfinished about the revolutions. They're starting the revolution in finance, but the revolution is still unfinished. Everyone is looking for the evidence about the potential market and reaching the technological drivens by the finance provider. They will be looking for the, let's say, for the PayPal that has been launched in 1988. Yeah, it's take over by eBay in 2002, and also we have the default payment system across of the world using the operator with the international sites. Since then, the payment market has been evolving. It's growing fast, and the evolutions is still make some convenience speed and also with the data collections. This is about the witness of initial success of the Apple contactless payment system, like the Apple Pay, or with the placing using the iPhone, starting with the iPhone 6 and make some proximity to a point of sales terminals. That's the second journey about fintech. The next journey is talk about the challenge to the bank. The challenge to the bank is looking for the response about the global wave of the fintech innovations. So the banking sector is vulnerable to having some disruptions and partly of a result of recent history. In the contrast, they have the leading lights of both the digital era. It should be tend to be a few positively, like the care out about the millennial disruptions. We found that all respondent is still remain to the millennials, and they are more excited about the financial service delivered by yes, the familiar applications like the Google or Apple's. They have challenging about the incumbent banks all of the countries. In respect of the bank, the traditional financial service should be in a race because the challenge is still growing fast and make some innovations to the bank. In the simple levels, the bank need to make a crucial functions like the take some deposits and provide the customer place like the secure place for the storing cash, the earn of interest, and make some deposit insurance and getting the significant regulations from the countries. It's also make to creating some facility to make some payments like the system payments, including the cash, card, or maybe the transfers, and also getting the improvement or in making some innovations to lending money. The financial service have the evolutions, not in the same service, but the new generations to having the face of technology driven. That is the challenge for the retail banks or the challenger banks using the maybe some the prepaid cards or the PayPal accounts, also with the Bitcoins in the current situations, and also through the P2P lendings, peer-to-peer lendings. And the credit card, it still is the available of challenging with the bank and alternative lenders. The next journey is about the utility of risk. As we know that the major risk of the incumbent bank is comes from the utilities of the infrastructure, like the money's infrastructure using the fintech companies, and they need to make some providing with the some innovative of consumer friendly service. Yeah, that is the legacy of IT system and the operating models. With this legacy, the utilities risk will be challenged and focusing to the customer outcomes, not by the bank outcomes. The next journey, we talk about the future of the banking sector. The banking sector need to make some innovations. The evolution is starting in the early of 2015. The half of the world, in the half of the world, the bank will disappear. They are disappear about the opened by the digital disruption in this industry. I mean the financial industry. So if we have forward looking for the future of banking, they will not just survive in the digital disruptions, but they still have the challenge about the fintech driven challenge. That is the momentum of the bank. In the world, major retail bank is still have a huge advantages, like they are collective customer, or they will be hold the data about their clients, and the customer having their own digital banking service. In the future, you can make some friendly activities like log into the mobile banks, We can make some assumptions like using the biometric or maybe the face recognitions. And it's very simple to borrow some money using peer-to-peer lending. It's also to make some international payment using the transfer, e-wallet, or maybe some deposits like the Alibaba in the money market or in the fund markets. So the startup has been make some challenge in some in the big cities, or it might be in the countries like in the Londons and the Johannesburg in Africa. They have the corporate giants like the Apple and Google. So this is the dynamic sector for financings, especially in the future of the bank. So with this journey, we can make some questions. What does the fintech brings to our worlds? The fintechs will be have three components that make some future in the visions, like the trust, transparency, and also the technology. The financials bring for the trust and transparency from banking and customers. And also they have the technology, because this is the technological era. In these parts, we will see about the uh, developing world, or in the taking for the actions, what fintech doing in the developing worlds. In our informations, we have the three process. We starting with the scratch, and also with the beware of information about the bank, and you can make some reimagines information about the disruptions. Let's see one by one about the process about the fintech in the developing world. In the starting point, we have to see about the scratch. What is scratch? Scratch is like the fintech innovations that's been following in the infrastructure in developing countries. They are focusing on online customer. The startup is addressing about the broader market using the cell phone, and they have the International Telecommunication Union and estimate about 95% in the impact in the world. So the major contributions is changing about the economic situations, bank or underbank. We can see the fintech solutions or fintech impact like in the World Bank Group or international finance corporations. And also we have to make some example for existing service or the convenience bank that creating about new infrastructure and creating some fintech organizations. The next step about the fintech in developing world is about the beware of the bank activity. So you accept or not, the fintech is already unveiled with the many disruptions in the bank. The people needs a banking industry, but they don't necessarily they needs a bank. So fintech take these actions. So the bank should be beware of the challenge about the fintech's revolutions. There are many hundreds of startups that have lots of brains and the money working and having some alternative to challenge about the traditional banking. And the next process about the fintech in developing world is about disruptions. You can reimagine about the disruptions that this is the smartest move about the collaboration and competitions between banks and the startup. So in the digital disruptions, there are lots of the big player. Let's say that it's a startup rules, yeah, the startup company, and they have an opportunity to challenge about the bank. They have to creating advanced in capabilities and still modernize, and also have the inefficient infrastructure. Some of the companies of the fintech, they develop it in-house, not in the companies, in an maybe in some office. They develop in-house using the innovations, and maybe with the different scenario to creating about the future of fintechs and challenging about the banking activity, or also about the supremacy of the business models. They can fail to adapt about the fintechs corporations, but they are still a new players. We have some scenario to challenging about the fintech adoptions, like the important about the customer experience and challenging about the business model, and also make some collaborations with the new entrants in this industry. So let's see about the current trends, in fintech revolutions in the financial technology. We see about the two current trends. The one of the current trend is about the regulations. We need a regulations to support about the fintech sector, and then we can see about the products of the fintech or the financial technology. The first part is about the regulation in fintech sector. In over the world, let's say about the United Kingdom or in England, they have the new about the regulation starting in 2015. They start with the application program interface or API. There is an officials to implement about the framework of fintech. Yeah. They have some objections to boost the competitions between the fintech and banking to create some benefit of the customer. So it means these innovations is having some government innovative. They could access the financial data and maybe the confidential data and placing to the Europe legislations, because they are in the one union, like the European Union or Euro. Okay. And what is the product of the fintechs? We can see like the wearables, or in the familiar, we can know about the foreign exchange, the Bitcoin and the blockchains. Yeah. The smart wearable is a revolution in the banking industry. The wearable is started in 2015. And the next of the products is about the foreign exchange. The foreign exchange is compared by the Money Hub and developed in the long-term saving or the financial planning process. In the Gen Z or Generation Z, we have the great segmentation after the millennial. They only know about the mobile transactions, not in the traditional transactions. So they are advancing about the mobile opportunities or the consumer demands using the Bitcoin or the blockchain. Uh, you can see about the clear sign like the cryptocurrency, or maybe they have the legal tender like the Bitcoin is the part of cryptocurrency and the type exchange of the system. The Bitcoin usage is needing in the industry, and maybe there needs some regulation and the national law. Yes, we know that maybe Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is still instantaneous, is still new and in the instance, but the regulation of governance will make some different involvement about the financial institutions getting an anonymous agreement, or maybe with the some of difficult agreement. The blockchain is the technology about the Bitcoin base is distributed by the holding leader transactions. The Bitcoin is cover about the cryptocurrency technology, and it's still in the huge of the fintech aspect of the revolutions. And we can see in the futures they make some significant transformations for banking sector, maybe in the 10 years, in the 10 year, or maybe still changing up to the 100 years. The fintech innovations is started with the global shake of the new sector, especially for the banking. They are very, very shaking about this financial technology. But the most important question is, can a bank is successful with the embracing of fintech innovation or not? The fintech is playing about the bigger roles in our life, in our world. So it might be have the good expectations for your country, or maybe in over the world. That is the our introductions about the fintech in the global world. They have some challenging about the traditional bank, and also with the revolutions, we talk about the revolution of fintech, the journey, and the current trends of financial technology. In the next sessions, we will talk about the some themes in the fintech revolutions. But before we end these meetings, you may have any questions for me, for Norlin or Diane, or maybe you need to ask or clear about one meaning of the informations that has been delivered today. Any questions, Norlin or
N-
Diane?
None for me,
None
sir.
so far. None so
Okay,
far, Mr. Reception.
I hope it's clear with my delivery, and uh, we can continue about the fintech themes, the material or the sessions in next weeks.
Yes, sir. It was
Okay.
clearly delivered. Thank you.
Okay, you can find but the details of the materials in our ebooks that has been sent to you in last weeks about the fintech books and the handbook about investor, entrepreneur, and the visionary. Okay, thank you for joining about the course last night, in this night, and we can see again or we can meet again in the next week.
Thank you, Mr. Reception.
You're
Thank
welcome,
you, sir.
Norlin. You're welcome, Diane. Okay, I will close the Zoom meeting. Thank you for coming, Norlin and Diane.
Thank you as well, sir. Have a good night.